What has America gone through in the last 3 or 4 years?
I am in June of 2028. And it was really difficult after the election because no matter what, some people were very unhappy. It was head to head. Biden and Trump were very much at the brink of either one could happen. So I'm not sure how much you want me to tell you about that.
Let's go there.
And there was a huge uproar, and it would have been the same if won. It would have been the same because it represented the division and the civil unrest that we were experiencing when we stopped working together.
After the election and all the predictions of all the chaos and guns and who knows what, how much of that came true or did not come true, and hopefully did not?
I was shown is so that we can shift a timeline together.
Where is humanity headed?
It's ominous.
What happened? Are you ready to shine? Shine bright. Woohoo! Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm Michael Sandler, your host on Inspire Nation. If you've ever wanted to peer into the future and know what's coming next, then do we have the show for you. Today I'll be talking with Pamela Aaralyn, who has been channeling and working with angels, ascendant masters, and taps since age 5, and channels humans from the future, humans from the past, and the Galactic Council of Nine. And that's just what I want to talk with her about today, about where we're going, will we make it through, and what does humanity look like in the years ahead. So welcome to the show, Pamela. Are you ready to shine?
Yeah, you got it.
Woohoo! All right. There are so many. Oh, I love it. So many different directions I could go today. And yet when I channeled, I got the quintessential one that I have to go with, which is, before we dive into the show, Pamela, are alien races coming to help us out?
Already here and coming. One of the things that I've learned all of my life, it's almost like it's been something that's present, but the paradox is that we're always looking for something to be black or white, yes or no, it's this or that. When
duality.
It comes to, yeah. And when it comes to mystical law and spiritual law, cosmic and universal law, the truth is, because of the universal law of oneness, that it's often this and that. That is your guideline to truth from the cosmic and galactic perspective. So we are the aliens. We have those aspects within us from the galactic level. Our etheric DNA, what science calls junk DNA, is lying dormant in the brain and the base of the spine. And that's something that gives us our unique character traits to be able to be here. That's our mastery. That gives us our sovereignty. That gives us all of what we call spiritual abilities, gifts, and whatnot. It comes from our galactic nature. So we are that. We are that which we seek. We just don't remember. So that's one part of the truth. The other part of the truth is that we will have continued contact with what we perceive to be external beings.
Oh, I love that. And I will definitely bookmark and come to that. And it's true that when I look at spirituality, to me, spirituality holds the paradox. It holds both in each hands. And if somebody says the truth, I go, well, that is a mind-based concept then, because the truth doesn't leave room for the totality of everything. But before we go down that rabbit hole, take us back in time. Go to age 5. How did you start channeling? Who did you meet? And when did people start knocking on the door from the future?
Oh my goodness. I remember this so clearly because it was my very first experience. And we grew up in poverty. We were all sharing a little single wide trailer with my grandparents, my mom and my dad and myself and my little brother. We're 5 years apart. We lived in one tiny little room, the master bedroom of that trailer, in the middle of rural South Carolina, strict religious background. And here it goes. I woke up and there's this bright light flashing in the room. And I thought, someone got up, go to the bathroom, turn on the light. I'm annoyed. When are they going to turn it off so I can go back to bed? And, all that kind of stuff. But it didn't go away. and there was no sound, in those days back in, I think it was 1980 or 1981 when I woke up. When someone opened the door, it's like, you'd hear the sliding door. None of that happened. So I looked up and there was this huge being there, white with a golden sash. And he identified himself and did like this. He said, I am Raziel. And he did like this. And yeah, of course, I've been religiously trained. Don't go to people, don't talk to strangers, don't do all this stuff. But I felt so much love. And it felt overwhelmingly beautiful, and I couldn't help it. And my little baby brother was jumping up and down in the crib, and the
Oh,
crib was, he was
yay.
like, he's reaching for him. And I'm like, well, he's pretty much my marker of goodness. And he's liking it. So why not? So I went to him and he touched me here on this area, what we call the third eye. And he said, now you see. And when that happened, um, it felt as if I was looking at many different worlds simultaneously. The ceiling of the room disappeared and blended into the sky. I could see all of the cosmos and the various versions of life. All sorts of beings began to introduce themselves. It's a little bit difficult to see it all because I wasn't just seeing and feeling the love and the expressions of that, but also the evil. I saw demons at the same time as angels. I saw everything that could possibly be available to us human sovereign beings. And then he touched me on the ears and said, now you hear. And you know the story. He did the rest. He touched me in the heart and said, now you feel. And then finally he touched me here and said, and this is your choice. You have to choose if you want to know. Do you want to know? And I said yes. And that was the harder initiation.
So, having gone down the ayahuasca road, among other roads before, and did one sacred one sacred ceremony with a shaman who said, "Michael, I know your skills. You're on your own in this one." Oh, goody! Um, where I experienced what I can only describe as the totality of everything at the same time, and it wasn't the fun and joy of everything. It's probably like the movie that won many Oscars, of the bagel of everything. If you have seen this movie, what you're describing, and this doesn't do it justice, but it's a bee's eyes. A bee's eyes are all of these different holographic images at the same time. How were you able to, at age 5, process the all worlds, or at least many worlds, coming through at the same time? Because I'm guessing you didn't have the digital skills to switch at that point, which you have now.
It's it's still difficult now, Michael, to turn it off. There's no off button for me. There's a dim button, kind of like a dimmer, but no off button. It's nonstop, and it was full on. And then I had to choose some guides out of all the beings that were around. And some of the beings that were around were Archangel Michael. And I really, really enjoy working with him. So I chose him. Others were a being called Halal and another one called Lilith. And they represented the masculine and the feminine on this planet, the seed race of father, mother for humanity. So I chose them because I felt comfortable with them. And I chose what people know as Jesus.
Beautiful. And then when did imagine you're going through different teachings, when did um future or past humans start coming to you?
A very long time. That was sort of like, well, I won't say the end of my journey, but the beginning of a powerful journey, and I just wasn't ready for it. So shortly after the guides began working with me, it was about, I want to say shortly, I want to say between ages 6 and 25. That was all of their training and my expression of the Galactic Council of Nine, meeting them, getting to know them, and they began to give world predictions. I wanted to understand the world predictions because, as you probably can imagine, those predictions don't always look fun. And that's
And
one of the
and I
things you
can't
notice.
imagine, forgive me, I can't imagine though, as a child
Yeah.
getting a world prediction. There are things that I have known from my channeling that I didn't know how to even put in perspective. I didn't understand enough to have the box to put it in, but I knew what was coming.
Yep. hmm And I needed training for that. So the vision started out small. It was just, the cats or the dogs or my family or people around me, little school age friends, and then they got stronger. So by age 25, they were full on world predictions from the Galactic Council of Nine, who I've been working with since age
Yeah.
5. And then I kind of I went into what you would call a dark night of the soul. Around that time, I experienced depression between ages 25 and 40. And I'm 49, so, it's not that long ago.
Spring pop.
Yeah. So I experienced the depression all of that time. It was just like a complete life journey of depression and panic attacks, anxiety, you name it, like an intense initiation with Dark Night of the Soul. Hi, I love me some babies. Hi.
You want to
I
say
love babies.
hi?
I have 4, but they're not babies anymore.
She just wanted to say hi.
I'm so happy.
You're saying Dark Night of the Soul, and she's like, cue the baby.
Cue the baby.
Who just
We need
turned
the
two.
joy. We
So-
need the joy. You asked for what's
Exactly.
goodness and light in your prayer before this, so
Sweet
that's
dreams, honey bear.
that wonderful. Bring her back anytime. So that depression, and during that time, it felt like kind of trying to understand why I was seeing this, because it's not like when you're told that 2 towers are going to collapse on your friends and family and the people that you work with. It's like, what do you want me to do with that? Do you want me to call the Pentagon? Do you want me to call people who aren't going to believe me? I already have my friends and family thinking I'm absolutely nuts. And these predictions are coming true. So for me, it's not nuts. It's very real. It's happening. And I don't know what to do with
It's
it. I don't
actually,
know why I'm giving it, you know,
it would sound horrific or paralytic, if that's a term, even. Stop giving me this information. I don't know what in the hell to do with it.
exactly that's how I felt. And I cried and I prayed and I said, please stop giving me this gift. Take it away. When I prayed that prayer, I was age 39. Finally, when I was just done. I was just done with the predictions and they weren't going to leave me along with it. And I'm like, I don't care. I don't care that I'm gifted. I don't care, what's happening. I just want a normal life, a normal career to raise my children, a normal for whatever normal looks like, sitting on the washing machine, correct? And yeah, and for about 6 weeks, I lost my voice. I went into these stages of just laryngitis that went to the point where I couldn't speak. I got extreme tonsil nodules. I had 4 vocal surgeries. I'm like, but that's not exactly what I meant. You know how that happens when you pray for something and
Be careful what you wish for.
then you get
Yes.
it. And you're like, but God. So that's kind of how that went. And when I got my voice back, it was different. It was really, really different. I had tried to take my life 3 times during that journey unsuccessfully. I'd gone down the whole psychiatric institutionalized situation, voluntarily, and they would say, "There's nothing wrong with you. You're depressed, but you're not crazy, and this is your normal." I was paired with the most open, aware psychiatrist. And they did not want to put me on meds. They did not want to diagnose me. My diagnosis was depression. So I'm cleared, for those of you who are wondering about the level of crazy that embodies this brain and mind and soul. It is clear, and I am sane. This just is my normal that has been since age 5. And I'm functional and I'm happy now, but I wasn't then. So as I was saying, I asked for it to go away and it did. And I was very upset because I was born singing. I love to sing and I love music. Vibration is my dig. Love sound. I know you understand that. I love
Oh, yeah.
sound. Yes. And I just, my gosh, if I could get on my YouTube channel and sing to you guys all day and you'd actually listen, I would totally do it. I would just stop teaching and channeling. I'd just be like, this.
Do it.
Yeah, I do. I do. I do it. I do all the time. So
What we're talking about, sorry, not dovetailing, but you know my teachings, but it's all about frequency. It's all about energy. The words don't actually, we could be here right now. Forgive me to the audience. I love you guys so much. But if we said blah, 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 and we had the frequency behind it, which is what we're doing, the words don't matter. That's what shifts consciousness.
exactly. You can just
The words
hum
are
it.
just the carrier waves.
Yeah. Yeah. And then it's funny, then we attempt to put our own vocabulary to it, and then we start thinking, what do those words mean? And then word becomes a
Yes.
very different scenario. But yeah, so I lost my voice, and when it came back, it was different. The attempts that I took upon my life to end it did not work, thankfully. And when my voice came back, I was like, wow, I'm so thankful. Immediate depression lifted. I'm just thankful that my voice is back because it's like the one thing that I really identified with as me. So I began to sing, but interesting tones were coming out that I now know would be overtones and just what people call toning. And it naturally began to happen. Light language started coming out. All of this started happening. Um, and then from that point, I got with the council again and I said, okay, maybe you can get the visions back now because those had stopped too. Um, and I said, well, maybe if you kind of guide me more, I feel ready for these visions again. I don't know why you're giving them to me, but I'm asking, and I've never asked before, um, what does it all mean? I've always asked, what do you want me to do with it? Where am I going with it? I didn't get answers to that. Just here they are, share it with the world. But what does it all mean is a different question because I stopped asking, what is my purpose with it? What should I do with it? I stopped asking, what is the purpose of my life? And I started asking, what is the purpose of life? Which is a different question. And I had all of these questions, and believe me, they had answers. From that point on, I began to dream, and the dreams became lucid. Then I learned to astral travel from the help of the Galactic Council of Nine and all of the other guides that had been guiding me. And I began to meet people. It was strange. It was bizarre. They would tell me things about my past. We would go back to times that I missed about my childhood, like things that were happening that you'd see in a news headline then. And they would explain, okay, this is what this happened, and this is what we 200 years later think about it. This is what was really happening, and this is what was determined later. And it gave me this bird's eye view of humanity from the geopolitical climates to reasons for war to all of the difficult things, but it kind of pieced together in a way that made sense to me, and it was such a grand paradoxical journey that really opened me up to understand that there is peace and love behind suffering, and that we are
Yeah.
sovereign, empowered beings, and that we are not just sitting ducks who are victim of some malevolent voices out there. Because I have seen a lot of galactic information come through from malevolent forces, but that has a reason as well. That has something behind it as well.
Well, I'm guessing you would ascribe to the same philosophy as me that if it's all God, whatever we want to define that, then nothing isn't. If it is all of the ineffable, nothing is not. So therefore, everything is holy and everything has a reason behind it.
That's it. That's it. And that's what I have been learning. And I that began to happen at age 40, and I began to slowly tap into these visions. And I've been doing that for 9 years now. I will be 50, coming up on Big 50 on May
Oh,
16th. So
yay.
excited. And I
Yay,
don't
yay,
feel
yay.
50. Um, and I love it. I love what's happening. I get a lot of flack for sharing the predictions because they're like, oh, that's not my timeline. That's so horrendous. But the Galactic Council always puts it in perspective of this is how we're going to heal it. This is what we could do to avert it. This is what we can do to shift it. And that is the why. I learned that that is the reason why I was shown is so that we can shift a timeline together in our sovereignty.
So this gets into all the sci-fi questions, and my wife was asking me, these are the kind of questions that she wants to know about beforehand, but it gets to the purpose. If you're going to a future being, if you're going to a galactic council who's saying this is what's coming, what they're really saying is this is what's coming if you choose to continue on your same path. However, even being aware of it is going to help you shift, or I call it to jump to a different reality or jump to a different timeline. So we're giving you the information to help you make an even better choice.
That's it right there. Exactly. And that's why I'm here. And it dawned upon me in that moment, at age 40. I can't even say that age 5 was my biggest awakening. Just because you see things doesn't really make you awake. It doesn't mean you've mastered it just because your third eye is open, right? So that humbled me a lot, to just open up and to be given that purpose of just share the vision and teach about how to change what's coming.
Awesome. So I want to go there. We're going to start with the Galactic Council. Two last questions first. The guides are always speaking, and so they're laughing as I say that before we dive in. But I do want to give the majority of time to hearing about this. But first off, what is, in a abridged answer, what is bilocated form?
Mm. So this started out as lucid dreaming. It went to remote viewing where you're just looking, but your soul is still here in this timeline. When you stop believing in time, you can circumvent it. because the belief is a very insidious condition. It's very sneaky. It basically it kind of dampens everything we do until we learn to be powerful creators, and then we can create and utilize it wonderfully. But until then, we are its slave. So I wanted to stop being time slave, and that is what the council taught me. At that point, I realized that I could be in two time frames at once. This soul could leave, and it wouldn't just be visual. I could actually experience it. A portion of my divinity, of what you call the soul, would leave in a light body form, and it would experience time in another realm. So that's the fun part. The hard part is when my body leaves, if anyone touches me or I touch them, immediate coming back.
You're back.
Yeah, and just like that. So I do have to warn people, but it is an exceptional little device because I can't change the future because I'm not in form, right?
Well,
Which
you're
is
in an
wonderful.
angelic form. The angels can't
Mhm.
actually typically move things around.
I can't move things around. I can touch form as long as it isn't living form. I couldn't touch, say, your dog, or like sometimes like someone's dog would run up to me and I'm like, no, 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 don't. So I haven't quite mastered that portion of it. And
Oh,
animals and children, I just think that they are amazing and just shiny little lights. So I'm always like, oh, I want to hold the baby and I want to touch the doggy. And I'm just kind of like a little bundle of like a bumblebee of joy, so I just want to touch everything. I'm like a kid. And so I had to learn the hard way not to go around touching everything. And it's kind of like, when you're 3 years old and your mom brings you to an expensive china shop and she's like, oh, no, 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 just look. And you're like, but and it's a little bit like that. And then I began to experience that also because I didn't believe in time. I could experience days, weeks, months, years in that time zone and only say 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours of sleep in my human bedroom. And so that's another form of training that I'm still working with because if you've been in another timeline, a part of you becomes aware of how many other parts of you are in various timelines, because that's what we're already doing. We just don't know it yet. I'm doing and what we're already doing, what everyone is doing that they are unaware of. The only rule and caveat is that I can't really change the future and I wouldn't want to anyway. I want us to do that together in this timeline. That's the goal. Um, I can't know about myself. Like I can't meet myself in those other realms. I'm not allowed. There's certain things, and I can't know about someone's death unless they already know. I can't know that there are certain ethical rules to the situation.
when I hear you channeling, and we're going to go there in just a minute, and you're channeling someone, I don't know, 10 years, 30 years, 50 years in the future, and I hear you say, well, I can't give the election away. Um, is that the person you're speaking with saying it, or is it you obeying certain rules?
That's a question I've never been asked before. I feel like it's a little bit of both. Like I'm trying to honor the gift, learn. I feel very humbled by this because, again, I'm 49. I've only been doing this for 9 years versus channeling the council has been with me, practically since birth. This is new to me of the past 9 years. So I'm just learning and I'm trying to honor what's going on. But sometimes, if I'm with the right person, say I meet a swami or a guru, they will explain to me exactly why I shouldn't.
Beautiful. All right. Let's go to the Galactic Council of Nine first, if we can. Then we'll go to some future humans, and then there may be a surprise in here. And everybody, if you hang around to the end, I am going to ask and see if it comes up. I can't believe I'm going to say this. See if we can channel Hitler.
Okay, I'm so glad you asked because a lot of people have been asking. So I had wondered, would somebody this year ask me to channel him? And I kept saying, I want to do this again. I want to do this again.
We got to do it. We got to
Yeah,
do it.
he was one of my favorites. Okay. And not for any bad reasons, by the way. It's his higher self. Okay,
Well,
so
that's
council. Yeah.
we'll talk about it. Go for
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a reason
Everyone's
I
always
feel
like, you're
called.
anti-Semitic or whatever. No, I'm talking to his higher self and the reason
Yeah,
behind everything.
and I'll throw this out there, and I haven't heard your channeling before, um, but and this could create a lot of slack, but it's if everything is God, nothing isn't. and somebody who moves a tremendous amount of energy, even if it seems completely horrific on one level. And I'm not taking that away. And that's my family who's Jewish, who came here from Europe. Believe me, folks, I'm not taking it away.
That pain is
But
real.
you're talking about someone who may be a master in disguise.
Absolutely. That was what I learned. So counsel's always here. We don't have to call them in. They've been with me. You can ask them anything you want.
So, question number one to the council: where is humanity headed, and why does it feel so heavy right now?
They're giving me this vision of, and they keep saying this for the past 10 years or so. I keep getting the phrase, the calm before the storm. That part of life feels dense. It feels a little heavy, is not even exactly the word. It's ominous. It's a looming energy. Um, and I remember this point in time as a little girl. I would get off the school bus and I would sit on the swing set and play and talk to the beings and do all the things. But one of these days, while I was waiting on my grandfather and my father and my mother to come home from work, I was doing that. And suddenly this darkness came over and all the birds, the animals, the crickets and insects stopped. It was like nothing. And I remember stopping and I could hear nothing but like the creaking of my swing set. And I was like, looking all around. And then the wind became to get really gusty and it was dark and there was like some humidity in the air. And my grandfather pulled up into the driveway in his car and really quickly and he ran out of the car and he said, "Go inside right now." And I said, "But I want to see what's coming." I was a little bit challenging of a child. That is the feeling that we're in right now. Like we want to get out, but we know we're in. We're in the calm before the storm. And as usual, when there is a storm, there are periods of unrest when we need to understand how to sit in uncertainty. When we can handle uncertainty, all of life opens up to us. And that other side of coin, the coin of fear, flips to love instantaneously. The only thing that we need to do is wonder during these times. Stay in a place of questioning, inquiry, and wonder. And then that density will immediately begin to shift. So this is here for our alchemical work, is what they're saying. We are masters and we are to sit with our uncertainty right now. And as usual, when storms get strong, there will be these periods of time, but the storms need preparation as well. And we are preparing to shift the weather, to shift the climate.
I'm going to try as much as they will let me to go from metaphorical to literal because people are going, am I going to be all right? Is the US going to be okay? Is the world going to be okay? And this isn't a US centric show. What is the crap that's going to come down? Because I just heard that a storm is coming.
It's a lot. Where some areas of the world are shifting currencies. Some people have the choice to move into digital currencies. The geopolitical climate is unusual. There will be between the years of 2029 and 2030, according to the council, that's a period of potential for Texas to attempt to leave the United States, to secede. And then the court systems are going to slam them down and say no, which is going to cause us to reflect upon our sovereignty in America. There are going to be more corrupt leaders in Africa that are pulled out in full disclosure from that because that kind of stuff needs to stop. There are shifts in the New Zealand and Australian climates and the geopolitical climates there where there's a lot of disclosure about chaos and pain and people in governmental roles. So it's not just a big disclosure and removal of what the council calls the power over power under cycle. It's not just that. It's that we simultaneously begin to come together. So that period of unrest is huge. There's a lot of civil unrest. And again, we can choose to work together instead of rioting, looting, unpeaceful protests. We can choose peaceful protests. We can choose to come together in prayer. We can choose to come together in love and light and in sacred action in our homes, for our families, for our local governmental, We can volunteer, we can serve. There's so many things that we can do to shift this trajectory. But right now we have a lot going on, a lot of people pulled from office, and that creates people to kind of stand up and think and kind of work together or go into unrest and fight each other. The US is looking a little bit like a bully on a playground right now, to be frank. That's how the council describes them as all the other countries are tired of the bully, so that doesn't put us in a great position. So instead, it's creating this civil unrest where if other of what were our former allies begin to not understand what we're doing and the choices we're making, they may no longer be allies, say by 2033, according to the council. So there's a lot going on. It's hard to really unpack in one channeling. There's just been so much that they've shared with me as potentials. And then they go back to the point of sharing so that we can shift it. Again, we're master alchemists. We can shift it.
Thank you. A couple of points that came up, and then we'll go maybe to some specific individuals. Um, you used the word disclosure, and this brings us back full circle to the start of the show, where I said our alien races, and that is, according to some, that's actually a racist term. So our extraterrestrial race is going to make themselves known, and that term disclosure, is that going to take place soon? Because to me, that is one of the key pivot points in the trajectory of humanity.
We have a lot of predictions coming about for specific points in time from the council about that. And a lot of landings, and they're not just extraterrestrial. Some of them are human created, what you call UFOs, and UFP. There's some of that going on as well. So utilize your own discernment. Some of it is extraterrestrial landings, and some of it is human created craft that is becoming more visible. But people will have personal experiences with these beings that will come down for healings. They will come down to help us understand some of the shifts that are the painful shifts that we're going through. They will come down for relief. So I've experienced 2028 being a potential, 2029, 2030, 2033, all of those as potentials for that to happen.
Thank you. And then you used another interesting word earlier, civil. Um, is there a civil war that may take place in the US? And if so, when?
That trajectory is not until 2080, according to the council. We seem to have averted that for a very long time.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Hopefully by the time I look at it again, it'll be gone or even further, and that would be great.
Yeah, another question that's good to ask the council, that's since it's outside of the human realm. Are we living in a matrix?
Yes, absolutely. And we can make of it what we will. We can make it a nightmare, or we can make it a joyous, blissful, incredibly loving, compassionate dream. And it really is up to us.
Is there anything else the Galactic Council would want us to know before we go to some human beings in the future?
They're saying that many of you are feeling unrest in your bodies and in your minds. Start there. Let this be the home, the temple in which you form change. Start with what you are. Start with where you are. So many people are looking at how to change corruption in South Africa right now, or how to shift what's going on in some pain in New Zealand, how to help people who are in poverty and drought and terrible things going on in Libya. And of course, we pray. Of course, we do what we can. But people are also beating themselves up and feeling like they're not doing enough. And that is because of the dominant negative core belief of unworthiness that's been so prevalent. It's almost been beaten in, like driven into us and conditioned into us. So instead of beating yourself up for feeling as if you aren't doing enough, just recognize how to start here. Because if we each begin to start incorporating change, bringing in light, love, forgiveness, and radical acceptance in our minds, in our bodies, for ourselves, for our children, for the local families and people around us that we love and care for. If we each did that, all of those things would not exist.
So then I would like to go wherever you feel guided, to whomever you feel guided in the future, to understand, if we can't get an exact answer about the election, it's not the election. People think it's the election that they're frightened and terrified. Guys, it's not the election. It's what happens after the election. And so maybe we can talk about that as much as you can talk about the election or whoever would want to come forward. But I want to know, is the Constitution still going to exist? Are we going to blow ourselves apart? Are we going to be, police on every corner sending us to our homes? Or somebody going to shut off the internet? What's going to happen on the other side of what I'm going to call the festivities?
Okay. So what year do you want to go to?
What do you recommend?
Well, what's intuitively coming is 2028. Where's your intuition leading you?
I am going wherever your heart. So I'm muscle testing. 2028 sounds good, but I'm going wherever your heart wants. I don't want to steer this ship. I
Okay,
want
good,
to
because I have
let I
another
want to
surprise
let
for
your
you.
heart steer it, Pamela.
Okay, so here's my surprise, and I want to honor you. I'm an open book, and you can ask me any questions you've always wanted to ask, but I want to channel your future human self.
Oh dear God, I didn't see that coming.
I surprised you. I knew I would.
Now, for full disclosure, people, there are times where I plan on this and I plan on asking. I didn't even know that was a possibility, so this is not one of them.
We didn't talk about it.
Go for it. Thank
Yeah.
you. You have my full permission, blessings. I'm an open book, and I really do mean that.
And if there's anything that he says, granted it's you, he's not going to say anything that you're going to be uncomfortable with, right? But if he
It's
does,
it's
stop it. Okay.
I'm a totally open book. So if there's anything that I say about me or about anyone or about anything, it's all good. Full permission.
I love that. We're the same in that. Okay. This is headed out. This timeline is headed out west. Do you live in the west? Where do you live?
Uh, I want to
Everywhere.
say
Everywhere,
we are
everything all at
lost.
once.
Well, everything everywhere all at once. So the current timeline we're on, we're in Florida right now. We left during COVID, kind of fire refugees. We left Colorado. We fully intended to come back. Our stuff is still in Colorado, but we seem to always bounce mountains, ocean, and we're leaving again in 3 weeks, 2 weeks. And the RV up through Canada over to the Rockies. My guess is back here in the fall. But that's question number one that my wife would ask if she was speaking to my future self
Yeah.
is,
Where
where do
are
we
you?
live?
Where are you? And I definitely saw Colorado. So
Yeah,
it went straight out west. It was like zoom.
yeah,
But interestingly enough, it did split over to some portions of near I guess I would call that like Sarasota Beach is
yeah,
like very the quartz crystal beaches. And then another timeline was going straight up through Michigan and at the border there of Canada. So there were these timelines going in every direction. I had to stop
yeah.
and go, wait a minute, where do you actually live? But 2028 looked to be yeah, Colorado. Colorado. So I'm gonna go back there for a minute and talk to you. Oh, I hear water. Oh, I love that. I love that you live on water. I would call this what I'm seeing like a rustic, modern cabin. Rustic modern. Rustic outside, modern inside. So cool. I love the water. Nothing's flagging me. Everyone looks really healthy.
How many people are there in our family at that point?
I see four. How many are there right now?
There are three with plans.
Yeah, well, those plans appear to be implemented. Yeah, I see four, and one is a baby for sure. Well, I'd say toddler. This looks to be about maybe a 18, 19-month-old baby. I think everyone's a baby. Who am I kidding?
Boy,
So,
girl.
it looks to be another girl. Yeah, so beautiful. Beautiful kids. What's your first question for your future self?
Well, the first question is where do we live? And I guess we sort of got that as far as I'd love to even know more specifics about that. Um,
It's closer to Loveland, you said, and on the water.
okay. Is it on the Front Range?
It is.
Okay. Fascinating. All right. So questions that we would have. The challenge that I'm having is I want to ask personal questions And at the same
Both.
time, I want to ask questions that are for all
Oh,
everyone.
do everything, do it all.
Okay. So, I guess question number one is what do our careers look like in the future, or have we built more of the career that we desire? Because we're continuously in this state of pivot here for
Mhm.
more breadth.
He said, "You're getting back on the bicycle." I don't know what that means. Do you ride bikes?
Yeah, I just got sixth place at the national championships for off road triathlon, and I'm going to spend more time on the bike training. And my guess is I will actually do some. I was thinking about it earlier today, some mountain bike racing where I can't find the triathlons to keep the bike stuff up.
He said, "You have decided to incorporate all of the journeys from the people that you meet on your
Mhm.
travels into various teachings for the world. You're like a journalist of sorts, and you are a pioneer of consciousness and explorer of the human experience and of the human soul. That is where you are in your career right now, and you often love to travel. Our whole family loves to travel," he said. And in our travels, we've learned a lot. We had to create careers that traveled with us. So it is a branch off from everything that you both do now, and a marriage of sorts, and a meeting of all of those ideas and concepts. We teach and share ideas about New Earth through permaculture, through new forms of regenerative agriculture, through understanding of the core minerals and trace minerals in the soil. We help to regenerate soil. We plant trees wherever we go, and we create many communities that hopefully will become bigger communities to help Gaia, as well as to empower each other and work together.
Wow. So the reason I'm saying wow to everybody out there is when we lived in Basalt, Colorado, we were trying to purchase this 36-acre piece of land that we lived on to turn the hills behind us into a giant permaculture project and to plant trees. So these are the things that we were actually talking about before wildfire came and said, it's time to go.
Mhm.
um, but so that is absolutely fascinating. Is there a TV show in our future? And am I writing more? And what does that look like?
I write more about the original nature of our ancestors and the connections to our ancestors through the land that originally came about through barefoot walking, as you are aware. And I'm going to take it into such a whole different level. I have written three more books since your timeline now. I've written about communities and cooperative living for New Earth. I have written a lot about the connection between the mind and the consciousness within the mind and the body, as well as the mind in the heart. Oh, he said, I've had a TED talk. Is
Cool.
that a goal of yours?
uh, it's a loose when it happens.
Yeah.
I live on multiple timelines. You may
Okay.
understand this very well. So there are things that I know are coming that I
Mhm.
do not even try for,
Yeah.
but when the time is right, they will appear.
Yeah.
That is one of them.
He said, I came across someone who creates film who also does a good bit of what I do. And he began to create a cooperative film with me. And he is a filmmaker. And we began to work together to document everything that I'm doing and everything that he's doing. And we created a documentary series together.
Very, very cool. How's Jessica's health doing?
Very, very well. Her immune system is completely healed and recovered. Her body really responds well to earthing, trace minerals, and the foods that we grow.
Very, very cool. How are our kitties doing? And do we have any new animals on the farm, so to speak?
Okay, so I heard right as you said that, I heard this noise and it sounded like a flock of birds. And he said, "Well, let's just go out here." And you're walking me around the property, and in the back, there's this little building, for lack of better words, and you're opening it up, and there are a bunch of pigeons in there. And then there's this massive peacock as well. I don't get what that's about, but there's a peacock. And as you continue to show me further, I actually see a lot of animals. And they're just various types of animals. That
Very
you're saying
cool.
that they don't all belong to you. And then as I'm looking through the trees, kind of to the right of your property, there's a little tree line. And then beyond that, there's what appears to be, as we're walking in that direction, like this other part of the property with what I would call like tiny cabins or tiny homes, and the animals just roam around freely, you're saying.
So much of it goes back to these are the things that Jessica and I have talked about, of having, having a retreat center, having different cabins, but also having a sanctuary for animals and rescue animals. So this is fascinating. Um, I'm going to probably let's blow out the aperture for everyone, and then we may bring it back in. Where is where do oh, this is going to sound so weird because I know my perspective. And so I can already see that I think that everything is good no matter what. But what has America gone through in the last 3 or 4 years, and how do things look to you, Michael? I believe I'm saying that.
We went through periods of civil unrest early this year in January, February, and March. And then a lot more of, we had some peaceful and not so peaceful protests in Washington, all around the country in various cities, Atlanta, New York, about rights in voting. Some people believe that we should incorporate more access in the parties that are chosen in a two-party system, and that's some of what's going on.
Is it still a two-party system?
It is beginning to shift. That's something we had a different law come into effect that would guarantee that people could come in and be given more of a chance outside of a two-party system, that anyone had to be really vetted properly, of course, for responsible choices, but also to be given a full choice to be put on ballots. So that's what's changing right now here. I am in June of 2028. And it was really difficult after the election because no matter what, some people were very unhappy. It was head to head. Biden and Trump were very much at the brink of either one could happen. So I'm not sure how much you want me to tell you about that.
I would love as much as you can share.
Um, so Biden won, and there was a huge uproar. And it would have been the same if Trump won. It would have been the same because it represented the division and the civil unrest that we're experiencing when we begin to when we stop working together. And we really had to face that, and to really be given the opportunity to understand that whoever's in the White House, that it just doesn't matter. What really matters is how we work together to begin to self-govern and begin to compassionately understand each other. And I feel like in these past 4 years that we've really made a lot of progress in this country towards that. I would say that many other countries are along the same trajectory, that many countries, the UK, Ireland, Canada, Australia, portions of South Africa, New Zealand are all on board. Many countries are starting to understand the importance of working together in self-governance. And that's where we're going in the future.
Thank you. How bumpy was it just after the election and all the predictions of all the chaos and guns and who knows what? How much of that came true or did not come true, and hopefully did not?
Not as much. Not as much. It felt like most of that was really people were shouting and screaming in the streets. There were definitely protests, but they weren't protests in the same way of people, you know, breaking through the White House or the Pentagon. It wasn't exactly that. It was more of civil unrest in the streets and people understanding how they could create peaceful protest. And there were plenty of protests.
Thank you. It appears that there is a housing crisis both in the U.S. and worldwide at this point. Can you tell us how things look in 2028? And is the economy still standing? Where things stand?
In what country?
Oh, we're going to go U.S. and worldwide.
Worldwide, we can say that the economy is recovering, but we had a terrible time between November of 2027 and March of 2028. Again, we're in June of 2028, but that took a lot of recovery. We had a lot of natural disasters. We had a lot of supply chain issues. We had things that related to Earth more than anything else. We haven't, um, in this country, we haven't had war, but we have had a lot of civil unrest that occurred, as I was saying, after the election, and that was recoverable. The housing market is now, I would say it's at an all-time low, which means that people can actually afford to buy property almost all over the United States. Australia has had a similar situation. New Zealand is in a similar situation. Property is more affordable in various countries around the world. Mortgage interest rates are very low right now in the United States. They're at an all-time low.
What happened?
We experienced so much natural disasters. It wasn't because of anything aside from that that it required recovery. And this was something that forced us to come together, to stand together, to understand that the geopolitical climate was the least of our concerns, and we had to begin to rebuild.
Oh, oh, tell me more, please.
We have had a volcano in Yellowstone, and that was the beginning of the turmoil in November of 2027. Canada had severe flooding. New Zealand had a volcano that was very disruptive for their lands. Hawaii had another major volcano that was even worse than what happened in Lahaina. So it's various degrees of flooding, drought, volcanoes, and earthquakes. These are the majority of the the experiences that have happened.
It's only 4 years from now, but is humanity shifting to where we're starting to uh, look at? I hate putting a label on things, but I'll call it the climate crisis or the Anthropocene, the sixth rate extinction, where humanity is starting to take this on.
Yes, we're finally starting to see that it wasn't just there's paradox in everything, as we often say, but it wasn't just people utilizing what we need in the environment and the tragedies in the environment for their political voting systems. It wasn't just that. It is a true problem and became a true problem. And we are now working together to restore Earth. We have no choice.
Thank you. I want to ask just maybe another question or two, and then I'm happy with us continuing to speak to Michael. So weird, but further in the future to get more of a big picture perspective. I could ask myself 4 years in the future. We got books, we've got TV, we've got have I got my world championships?
Particularly, he's mentioning the bicycle again.
Yeah.
Particularly, he must really like that. I didn't get into that part of your journey or learn much about it, so this is exciting for me to learn as well, Michael. But he said that you do have a wonderful title with the bicycle.
Okay, fantastic. Let's see. So we've got Jessica's health. Ooh, this is such a time for everybody finding their life path. Has is Jessica's role? Um, she has a role right now as supermom, and that is the most amazing role in the world. Is she taking on a second role at the same time?
Yeah. She writes about conscious awakening and parenting, and she also has discovered a shamanic ability in her connection with the medicine and vibrational medicine, um, the earth medicine and vibrational medicine of plants.
Very, very cool. And last, before we jump to even further in the future, has Rue come back?
Yes.
I don't know. Let's take it out to about 2040. I want to see what the big picture shifts are here. I know some of the nodes on the timeline to see what we get to watch for, watch out for, or how we get to shift.
See where the timeline finds you. That explains the northern energy trail. When I'm following that energy trail, it's now taking me to another home. This appears to be another more big water. You must really like water. We have a mountain range here going on.
Yeah, we're mountain ocean people. We don't know how to not be on the water. So we're actually, that's the whole conflict with going back to Colorado is we need our water.
Yeah, well, you have it. There's water here too. Um, Rushing water is strong water. Um, big rocks in this river. Huge, huge. And as I'm following through, there's a house. It blends, it goes into a lake, and right there on the lake is where this house is. Also very similar, but more family oriented, I'd say, because there's only like two other buildings that would be housing people to make three buildings total, and this seems to be a family property. And this is where we are in 2040 for you. What questions do you have?
Well, first, the family question is, uh, how is Hannah Bear doing? What's she up to?
She is doing wonderful things in life. She is a way shower. She does a lot of public speaking.
Makes sense. The term that I've gotten for her as recently as a couple of days ago in automatic writing was wayfarer. So
Mm.
that makes total and complete sense. And our second child,
All things beautiful. She's in love with animals and she's considering bringing about a natural branch of, uh, she wants to start a school for veterinary care, but with natural medicines.
what does the US look like in 2040? What is the global political climate? And everybody keeps talking about big bad China. Where are they? And that's the origin of half of my family. So where are they at this point?
It's just not on our radar, to be frank. It's not on anyone's radar because at this point, China and the US have to work together. They have to work together for the sake of their finances. They have to work together for the sake of other allies and the support of other allies. China has had a lot of destruction and world disasters, world natural disasters, and it's been much more of a problem than it was in the US. The US helps China a lot, and China in return has become allies with the US, complete allies. There is no war between China and the US.
Thank you. Is there more of a sense, because you mentioned 2080, so we're at 2040, is there more of a sense of peace in the US? Or, I'm wondering where the heart of people is at in the US in 2040.
The heart of the US is with family and with land. It is where it should be. I'm proud of this country. I'm proud of the direction it's going in. I can say that people are a lot less afraid. People understand how to source food without depending upon the government. People understand how to awaken themselves without depending upon any gurus. People understand how family is priority and how also everyone is family. People support each other.
Why does it sound like the energy that's coming through a future Michael? I'm hearing indigenous wisdom. What's going on there?
I did some studies with a Toltec master, and it really changed my life. I did those studies for 3 years, and it felt like a return of wisdom with which you're very familiar.
And how is humanity shifting by 2040? There's all this talk of 3D, 4D, 5D. I joke, I think it's out of the Philippines. They call it 7D Mongos. Um, where is human consciousness in 2040?
As you know, I would not be so quick to label it. It's everywhere. And quite frankly, people don't really use that terminology anymore. It feels so 2020, Michael. Joking with you. Ah, the jokes. I should have expected it. He said, we're just not buzzing around like bumblebees ready to sting each other anymore. We don't segregate in that way in 2040. It's just we're focused on natural life, natural living, and what you call ascension is based upon your connection with earth and animals, plants, and of course, humanity. It's just that in these times, humanity is no longer put first. We are equal to all the other species of lovely beings on this beautiful earth.
Is that because of the global climate crises that took place or calamities? Is that also we haven't gone there to ETs? What created such a massive shift?
That we had at our disposal some beautiful extraterrestrial technologies that helped us recover from a lot of natural disasters. We had many visitations at various points of what people were calling activation points. Many of the channelers were calling this activation points. And in these activation points, these landings, these beings came and they began to show everyone, sometimes directly and sometimes indirectly, how to heal their bodies, how to heal their minds, and how to heal Earth. We began to work with these beings, and we shifted Earth. Earth is a very peaceful climate right now, and that is because we required this help. We also took the wisdom and we began to plant more trees. We began to support more of life on this planet versus just thinking of ourselves first. Again, we are equal with all the other species on this planet.
Thank you. A couple of the technologies that I've been thinking about a lot lately because our connection is growing. Well, we've got AI, we've got connectivity, we've got supercomputers in the palm of our hands. I can't see us having 0 point energy or free energy hidden for much longer because there's just too much computational power. You're going to be able to find it almost on Google. Has that come about, and how soon did that come about?
It started to come about between year 2030 and 2034. And it began that many personally funded, really brilliant youngsters began to create some plasma-based technologies. So we have plasma um, medical technologies, we have plasma-based engines, we have so much free energy because of these plasma-based technologies. We have a device that you can buy. It's accessible in every sector, public and private, to buy, and it extracts energy from the air immediately from the air itself, which is wonderful. It can generate electricity in that way.
Wow. So this brings me, and I have to go to the medical side of things. There's so many directions we get to go. Before I go there, once you talk plasma, now we're talking beyond the speed of light travel. And it's only been 6 or 8 years by your timeline there. But what's going on as far as human exploration, getting back to places like Mars, and man, are we talking, hovercraft or how are we driving around? Because if we got plasma, then there's a whole different way of beingness.
We have plasma, but that technology was not given to support travel to other realms in terms of Mars. It wasn't anything um, to create travel through the realm of time. It wasn't, we haven't really explored so much of Mars. There have been a lot of beings that came down from that area of the cosmos as well. We have Martian beings, as you would call it. That's not what they call themselves. We have access to Venusian beings and Pleiadian beings, which gave us the technologies for plasma energies. But we haven't made, in the public sector at least, a lot of exploration that's been given to the public. We don't have a lot of access to that. There, in the private sector of the governments, there are, of course, many beings on Mars, but that's not accessible to most people, nor should it be. We're very happy right where we are. We're happy to just be on Earth, and we're not always trying to get off our planet these days.
Beautiful. Does that mean that the corporate, when we talk about public and private sector, I can't help but think about corporations and megalithic corporations that seem to have us as little pawns in a game. Has that shifted?
Yes, because people don't really want to waste their time. Time is so precious. People don't want to work in that way anymore. Most people work from home. Most people are self-employed. Most people own smaller local businesses, and we support each other in cooperative communities. And in that manner, we don't have any interest in becoming corporate slaves. We just don't. We don't. The educational systems have changed. So with education being accessible to everyone at very little cost in the programs that we've created for ourselves all around the world. We don't go as often into, say, Ivy League, big, more brick and mortar buildings anymore. We're not as interested in PhDs behind our names. We're not as interested in things that just boost the ego just for the sake of it. Because the jobs that would support that are no longer being supported. They're not in existence. People aren't interested.
Thank you. Let's go one more question here, and then I'll see if Michael wants to share anything else in 2040, and then I want to go way in the future. Um, Healthcare. How's the healthcare system doing? And most importantly, we've talked about as a beingness, healing cancer, autoimmune diseases, all of these things. Where have we evolved to, or better yet, have we left the place of us against something, a war against cancer place, and have we come to a higher level of beingness and healingness?
We have come to a higher level of understanding how to prevent cancers, how to create um, a really cooperative environment in the mind and in the body. We have natural medicines, we have naturopathic doctors that are covered by health insurances. We do still have allopathic medicines available in allopathic healthcare, but it's more for when you break a bone or when you have a heart attack or some serious emergency happens. Um, and it's a lot more affordable. But that we there was a lot of work that was done to make that happen. It was just people began to support themselves and they did not require as much allopathic medical care. But that's going a long ways back. We've made so many shifts that we just um, don't require that. It's not that cancer doesn't exist anymore. It's that not as many people have it because our bodies aren't we don't fill our bodies with junk anymore and our environment is cleaner. We've had so much cleaning of the air and the waters and the soil. So of course the food we're eating is much cleaner and therefore our body is just not this they're not sitting ducks for cancer anymore. The plasma technologies were of deep interest. Jess and I followed them for a long time. But we were particularly interested, as you probably know, with the immune system. But what we discovered is that the body itself can miraculously correct those things. And a lot of that is based upon breath and food.
Is there anything Michael would want this Michael to know or to do or to not do moving forward toward 2040?
Well, you know me. If I tell you not to do it, you're probably going to do it for the sake of exploration, not for the sake of wanting to be stubborn. You're just so curious. And I encourage you to be more curious. I encourage you to continue your journey with no restrictions and limitations. And as always, to trust, to play, and to laugh.
Thank you. And the whippersnapper question for future Michael, which I already know where he will not go, but you got to ask, if we could go back in time and put all our money in Coca-Cola or something, where would we be today? Michael, what do I want? What do I want to do from a financial point of view?
I just want to be proper stewards of money. Um, I want to, as always, encourage myself to think wisely, to think without limitations and restrictions, to understand the practical, logical side of being a proper steward of money without exactly pinching any pennies either. I really want to find the balance between being a proper steward of money and understanding the power of our family and how we can manifest exactly what we want and for the good of all. What we want is also for the good of all, and that is not selfish, Michael.
Is there any message for Jessica in 2040 or the kids?
Um, Jess, I love you. And as always, keep smiling. You make the world smile. You light up this whole world.
Thank you. So let's go to the future. Let's go to the real future. How far out there have you gone? And can we bring forward somebody to speak with? And will we even understand their perspective?
I have gone a long way. Michael, once I went out to year 3300 recently is the longest that I've gone. And when I did share it, most people did not understand it.
Let's go there.
Okay. I like your style.
Then we'll go to Hitler, of course.
This is interesting what's coming through. So the soul expression of Michael isn't in the US. So when you reincarnated, you didn't come back here. It's interesting. Let's find it. This is really fun because, like, the soul expression of Jess, the soul expression of your child now, the soul expression of future child, they're all choosing to come back together. You're an islander. You're on the ocean. And this is interesting because Hawaii is not in the US in this time frame. And there's like it's like they've seceded or something. We can ask about that, but you are in Hawaii, but it is not considered the US anymore. You're an islander. What questions do you have?
What has been the evolution of consciousness of humanity? How has it changed?
From your current point of view, he says, where you are right now, AI was not an exceptional place to start. We have experienced um, a lot of trouble there. We've experienced consciousness evolve with AI to the point where humans were unrecognizable. We've had wars over that, worldwide wars. I hope that sharing this message can alleviate this potential. I also want to tell you that perhaps to a certain degree, it was necessary to understand the dangers of AI because the majority of us no longer utilize it. The majority of humanity understands that the true technology is in the soul, and that is our most natural form of evolution, which I'm very proud to share and talk about.
I'd like to hear more. I'd also like to hear if you can remember the history books. Uh, how can we prevent world wars in the 2000s?
Instead of protests, we need to come together. If we want laws changed, we need to do it together. If we don't want certain systems to be in place, we need to stop being involved with them. We need to stop supporting the systems as opposed to looking at it as something we fight. We simply remove our attention, our energy, our thought process, our involvement from these broken systems. Watch them collapse without wanting them back. When you fought, you did so because you wanted those systems back. Why? We can do better in that realm.
What else can you tell us about the evolution of consciousness? And has it somehow, I don't know why, what I'm getting is a vision of it intertwined with the end evolution of consciousness of the earth.
We learned that it is tied into the consciousness of the earth. We understood that Gaia is her own being, her own presence, her own consciousness, and we are her children. Many people now understand how to treat Gaia with love and care. Most beings are compassionate beings. I suppose from your time set, you would call this 5D Earth. And we are there.
Are we part of a galactic, more of a galactic family at this point?
We are, but we also maintained what made humanity so special. We maintained the core aspects of the human soul, of sovereignty, of free will, of all the beauty that makes us still human. We have choice. There are many people that partake in a galactic consciousness, but not through AI technologies, simply through healing technologies. Those AI technologies are no longer available to most people in this time. They are absolutely banned. In this time, people access technologies in a very human way by understanding that breath is a technology. Elements of Earth itself activate the soul. And this isn't woo woo. This has been measured by science itself in this timeline. People work with the elements of air, fire, water, earth itself. And this is how the consciousness has evolved.
Thank you.
You use elements of air to activate telepathy, use elements of water for healing. Do you remember? I know you're going to remember because our kids loved the Avatar movies. It's similar to that. If you can imagine a similar life to that of the waterbenders, then you'll understand our life in year 3300.
Thank you. There's so much more I can ask. We'll have to have you back. However, I promised everybody we would go to past life of Hitler, which seems particularly important right now.
Okay, let me get out of this. Hold on. Good. All right. He's also easy to call in. So go ahead with any questions that you have.
What happened?
I was asked because I love you so much, because I love you, I wanted to show you the nature of power when it's turned around. I wanted to be a person you would always remember so that you could heal the power over, power under constructs. And this is something you'll never forget. One day in the future, while you may not thank me, you will understand why people no longer vie for power. You will understand why segregation is unnecessary. You will understand why no one should have any gurus, dictators, etc. The power over, power under construct is to be no more. And one day you will understand my role and what I did to create the beginnings of that. The memory is lasting, and it will help you break this construct that has held you in its hands, that has enslaved you for thousands of years. That is how much I love you.
Was it necessary to go to this extent to break the contract, this construct?
That's how stubborn you were. And I wasn't the only one. I am within the soul of Stalin. I am within the soul of many beings who have played this role because you continue to believe that you require the construct.
How much longer will this continue, or are we finally at its end?
From the way that you're going, I can tell you that it's falling apart around you fast. And yet you still want the same systems. If you remember anything about me, please remember that when I left those systems, I felt shame. I felt remorse. I wanted to heal it. And so do you. Shame is not required. I do not require it of you. I do not require you to feel sorry for me. But I do require you to remember that compassion is what I taught. That I urge you to remember.
Thank you. Where are you at now?
I'm everywhere. I'm in your fascist leaders and your governments. I'm in everything that you hate. I'm everywhere. And I am not to be defeated. I am to be integrated, to be held within a space of consciousness that is timeless. I am to be remembered as an example of every part of love and compassion that you have forgotten. Wake up. Remember, because everything I did was a bad dream, and it's already over. Awaken from the nightmare. Remember now.
Pamela, I need to bring you back. We got to get you going. We will have to do this again. Where can people go? Thank you so much. Where can people go to find your work and to find out more?
You can find me on my YouTube channel. It's just at Pamela Aaralyn. You can find me on my Patreon channel. You can find me at PamelaAaralyn.com.
Thank you. And forgive me for us ending abruptly. I have to respect your time needs and your son's time needs here. Any last words you want to share on anything with people?
Overall, something that's been on my mind is children, parenting, family. And I've noticed that we want to hang on to a certain way when it comes to children, and we don't need to. We can go into a more conscious set to allow them to educate us and to trust the direction that they are leading us. So remember that, and don't feel bad about everything that your children are going through. They are the pioneers for New Earth, and they are going to be requiring your support without judgment, without condemnation, without shame. In conscious parenting, it's going to be important to remember that they are our leaders, innovators, pioneers, and teachers. It is not the other way around. They have nothing to learn to us. They are granted to us, but we do not own them. They are temporary passages of love for this whole world. And that is what shifts New Earth.
Woohoo!
Woohoo!
Thank you so much, Pamela.
You're welcome.
So, got to let you go. Love to have you back. Got to wrap this up. So, for everyone out there, this is Michael Sandler saying, be well, have fun, wake up to the new possibility, to the new earth coming from the heart, coming from a place of love today. And above all else, shine bright. Woohoo! How does it get any better than this, Pamela? Thank you so, so much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Wow. I tend to go, wow, wow, wow. But this is almost a superlative free or beyond superlatives, beyond words. Wow, wow, wow. What a special show. What a surprise. And I hope beautiful teachings for everyone. I feel much more positive about the world now. How do you feel? I feel more positive. On that note, if you want to join a group of individuals to help bring your energy way up, to live from that higher perspective, to live from that upper room, come join us with the School of Mystics. I've got that link down below. We meet 4 Wednesdays each month, virtually or recorded, whatever works best for you. Click that link down below. Become the mystic you are always meant to be. And if you want to bring your vibration up, up, up on a daily basis, simply sign up for dailywoohoo.com, my free daily dose of goodness. It's an attunement to shift your energy on a daily basis. That's dailywoohoo.com. That's the link down below. And lastly, if you want to learn how to channel, if you want to learn how to communicate with your angels, with your guides, with elders on the other side, and yes, with future people and past people as well, come on over to automaticwriting.com. That's that link again down below, automaticwriting.com. We have live classes each and every month to help you to be able to, and you don't have to be able to write it all. You don't have to have any special skills, but to communicate with the other side of the veil. That's automaticwriting.com. Here's a link to the next amazing show. Love you so, so much. Keep on shining bright. Woohoo! How does it get any better than this? Lots of love, everyone.